Well, to two flashbacks Saturday night, and we are live on the phone with my good friend Glenn Tipton of the band Judas Priest. How you doing, Glenn?
I'm fine, Chuck. How are you?
Oh, great. Thanks so much for checking in with us tonight. Boy, this is a busy month for not just the band, but for yourself as well.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah,
we're very hectic.
I'll say. We got a lot going on. Of course, we got the Judas Priest CD and DVD that was released. And if you're a Judas Priest fan, you've got to have the Essential Judas Priest album. And, you know, all the tracks on it are the best. There's no doubt. How'd you guys manage to pick the tracks? Was it all like fan favorites?
Well, to be honest, in this instance, Chuck, we didn't really pick them because for two reasons. Well, the main thing is every time we're asked to pick tracks, we always pick the same ones because we've all got a favourite. So we thought this time we'd stand back and let the guys from the record company pick, you know, what they felt was the essential Judas Priest. It's better, you know, if you stand back from it sometimes and let someone else do it. They made a good choice. Yeah. I think what's on there is essentially Judas Priest.
You bet it is. And you know, now you guys are you got a big show coming up at the end of the month at the Royal Albert Hall over there in London, and it's actually a really awesome concert because you're going to be teaming up with the Scorpions and Ian Gillan to aid the Teenage Cancer Trust charity, and it's sort of a tribute to Tommy Vance. How'd you pull that thing together? I mean, it's a fantastic cause.
Well, it's an annual event that's gone on, and Tommy's, you know, he's done a lot for us and a lot of rock bands through the years. He passed away last year, and it's a tribute to him in a sense. But it's also an annual event, and it's for the Teenage Cancer Trust, which is a great charity. And we nearly did it last year, but at the end of the day, they decided that they wouldn't have a heavy metal night. So we spoke to them this year and said, look, you know, metal's as good as any other music, and we want to be part of it, and we want to just show that the metal community and the fans are just as good as anybody else. And so this year they've said, of course, you know, that's great. So we're doing the heavy metal night this year.
Awesome. Very awesome. And it's a good thing because, you know, you've got a great group there and it's for a very, very good cause. And not to let yourself be undone because, you know, you are a fantastic guitar player, no doubt about it. And a singer, too, because you're doing some solo stuff. In fact, coming up on Tuesday, we got 2 albums that are going to be released. Now, I'm lucky because I got them in my hands right now. But you got 2 albums that are going to be released. They're going to re-release your Baptism of Fire album, and which, by the way, I think is just awesome because you even wrote one of the songs with your daughter, and you got your son on drums on the album.
That's right.
And then, of course, you teamed up with John Entwistle of The Who, and you got Tipton, Entwistle, and Powell, Edge of the World. That's going to be released on Tuesday as well on Rhino Records. How did you, well, first of all, the whole project with Entwistle and Powell, that we've been waiting for a long time to be released. How did it finally come to being?
I'll try and give you the short version, Chuck. Going back into 94, and, you know, there was no Priest, really. The future looked bleak. I've said that many times today, and it looked like, the Priest was over. We had a couple of years break after Rob left, and I think we all needed that. We'd been working really hard. And then I sort of got itchy fingers again and wanted to start to write. So I wrote a whole bunch of material and discarded a lot of it and played around with it and tried to find a direction. I didn't know who I was going to play with or who was going to sing it or anything, but the first person I approached was Cozy, in my mind, one of the all-time great rock drummers, and asked him if he was interested, and he said, yeah. And then we thought long and hard about a bass player, and we spoke, John's name came into the conversation because we got the same manager, Bill Kirbishley. So I phoned John up and asked him, you know, if he was interested and played him the tracks, and he said, sure. So we did the first batch of tracks, and I took them to Atlantic, who I was with at the time, and they loved the tracks, but they felt that, you know, at that point in time, it was a little bit old school, to use their words, and encouraged me to go to LA and play with some young guns, which I did, which was Billy Sheehan and Robert Trujillo and Brooks Wackerman.
Yeah.
You know, all these young guys kept me on my toes. And in all honesty, a great album came out of that, which was Baptism of Fire. But it left these other tracks on the shelf, and I always felt that they were my favorite tracks and should see the light of day. And then recently, when Rhino wanted to re-release Baptism of Fire, they listened to these tracks and said, "Oh man, this has got to be released." You know, I mean, John and Cozy's playing on that album is just classic rock, and that's how I ended up having 2 albums, really.
Wow. Yeah, and both of the albums are fantastic. You can tell on Baptism by Fire, you know, Brooks Wackerman, I've been a fan of his for quite some time, all the way back to the Bad for Good days, you know, and forward into playing with Suicidal Tendencies and Bad Religion. And, you know, you can hear, I heard his drums on the album, and but like you said, you've got to bring back the sound. You're teaming up with Cozy and John is just amazing, and I'm so glad that Rhino decided to release the album, because it is just phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal.
I'll never forget, you know, when we set up down in this little studio in Wales called Mono Valley, and me and Cozy were down there already set up, and John came down and with a crate of brandy, and he set up and started to play. And it really could have been no other bass player in the world but John. He's got such a unique sound and style. And I always knew Cozy was a talented drummer, a very talented drummer, but I had no idea just how good a bass player John was till he came down and started to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm privileged and proud to have played with these 2 guys, you know, and it's there forever now for everybody to hear, and it's a tribute to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, you know, considering unfortunately that we lost both of them, this is like an amazing tribute, and you know, it's got to be a great feeling for yourself to have played with these guys before they before they left us and went to the great, you know, concert hall in the sky. You know, I mean, it had to be something awesome for you being able to play with these guys. No,
it means everything to me, and yeah, I got really fond memories going back then of those sessions that we did together. And you know, to repeat myself, it's a privilege really to have been part of it. And you know, these are 2 legendary characters that have inspired so many people, and will continue to do so. And that's the beauty of it, really. It's down there forever now.
Awesome. We're on the phone with Glenn Tipton of Judas Priest, of course. Now, back to the Priest. Where do you see the Priest now? You guys going to maybe, possibly hit the road later this year? I know so far the only show you got going is the one at the end of the month, but you thinking about coming back out on the road?
Well, we're going to see how it goes, Chuck. I personally think it'll be next year now, because what we want to do, we finished in December. We finished in Russia in December, and then we've had a break through Christmas and January. We've been putting our own ideas down, and we're meeting up now, myself, Rob, and KK, in 2 weeks' time, and we're going to begin writing in earnest on the next Priest album. And we don't want to put too much pressure on ourselves. We want to make sure we get this next one right. We've got some very special ideas. I think everybody's going to like it. And then next year as well, when we go out, we're going to change the set. So for once, it'll mean we've got to do some serious rehearsing, Chuck. And,
yeah.
You know, we're not a rehearsal band. We like the audience out there to feed off. So we want to get everything right this year and get poised to go out again next year, full force, with a new album, and go around the world 3 or 4 times.
Awesome. That is going to be great. And folks, don't forget, in the stores this Tuesday, it's Glenn Tipton, Baptism of Fire, and also Tipton and Whistle and Pal, Edge of the World. You need to pick those CDs up in the store this Tuesday. Of course, you're going to be lucky enough to hear them before anybody else tonight, but you need to make sure you get to the store and pick those up on Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us on the phone tonight, Glenn Tipton of the band Judas Priest. Really appreciate it, and it has been a pleasure, Glenn.
It's been a pleasure for me as well, Chuck. Thanks a lot.